Let's continue factoring using difference of squares and try some harder examples. So let's see if you can factor 9x squared minus 25y squared. So the key here is that we recognize that you can take the square root of this first term, and there's a minus sign here, not a plus sign, and that you can take the square root of this term here as well. So we say that we can factor it using difference of squares, using these brackets. The square root of 9x squared is 3x. 3x times 3x is 9x squared. I recommend that you write the plus minus sign here. And what times what is 25y squared? We have 5y. Don't forget about this part here. If you just write 5 times 5 is 25, but it's not quite 25y squared. So we have 5y times 5y is 25y squared. 5 times 5 is 25, y times y is y squared. So we successfully factored this. Okay, great job. Now you're getting really good at this. Factoring is becoming fun. Let's try this harder one here. This doesn't quite look like a difference of squares factoring problem, when in fact it is. You can't really take the square root of 18 because it doesn't end up being a nice whole number. So what we try here always, whenever you're factoring, always try to pull out the GCF. So what's the greatest thing we can pull out here? What's the greatest GCF? Look at the numbers first. We can divide both numbers by 2. So we're going to pull out the 2 here. This is equals to 2 times something. 2 times what is 8x squared? We have 2 times 4x squared is 8x squared. 2 times what is negative 18? 2 times negative 9 is negative 18. Notice how you have to understand how distribution works. This times this generates this polynomial. So here you may think that you're done factoring, but you always have to be careful. Don't want to lose some part marks because you didn't factor fully. So take a look at this expression here and recognize that you can indeed factor using difference of squares. Now be careful. If, for example, I'm just going to put a dream bubble here. If, for example, you had a question such as this, 4x squared plus 9, you may be tempted to factor this using difference of squares, but we're done. Cannot factor any further. So the plus sign, even though this looks very tempting to factor, you can't. So let's go back to this question here. We're focusing on this part here, so we're going to leave the rest alone. We're going to say that this 2 stays alone here. We're going to draw our beautiful brackets, leave enough space. What times what becomes 4x squared? We have 2x times 2x is equals to 4x squared. I recommend that you write the plus minus right away. What times what becomes 9? We have 3 times 3 becomes 9. And always double check, can you go any further in your factoring? And no, we can't, so we're done. Great job.